I got an AR with a 90 on it, right? And it fascinates him to see this big ass with this big ass drum on it with all these in it, you know? And one day he asked me, say, Dad, can I shoot that when I get older? You gonna let me have that? I said, yeah, son, you know, you can have all the shit when you get older.
All right, so first and foremost, how old were you when you became a father? And kind of paint the picture of where you were in your life at that time.
I was 26 years old. I was all over the place mentally. Like, I didn't know where my life really was headed at that time. You know, I just know up until that point I was living for myself, and then at that point I had to stop thinking and living for myself, and I had to start trying to, you know, mature and grow every day as a man. Like, every day I wake up, I gotta be better for my daughter.
All right, and what were you, 26, what were you doing? Were you into music yet? Was that like a serious option? You know, how were you making ends meet at the time?
I was pretty much doing anything to feed her, like hit licks, arrived, took, kicked a couple dogs, all type of shit. Like, shit, for my daughter, I was on some other shit when I first had my daughter. Like, it wasn't nothing I wasn't willing to do if I came up short on things she needed, you know?
So what happened that kind of made you put that aside and focus on a legitimate, you know, source of income? Did one thing happen, or did like your mindset start to change gradually?
It's just knowing, like, I never want to take no real breaks from her and put her in a predicament to where, you know, somebody else has to do my job in her life.
Wow. And what was your relationship like with your father?
My father been there every day of my life. Like, it wasn't a time my pops wasn't there. I had a separation with my mom at a period in my life because my dad and my mom had separated, and my mom had like a nervous breakdown, you know, cussed me out in front of my sister, you know, I'm sick of your shit, you know, you need to get your shit and get the fuck out of my house, go live with your daddy, you know. I'm 7 years old at the time, like, you know. Yeah, this real life shit. Like, went to go stay with Pops, and Pops, you know, was immediately on that. He always, when him and my mom was together, he always kind of like shielded me from the times where she'd want to go hard on me or whatnot, but he still let her, you know, be mom, and he wouldn't interfere with me and her relationship. But at this point, when I came to move with him, you know, we moved from the east side, we moved to the west side, me and my little sister. She was probably like 3 at the time. And when we went to move with Pops, it was more so like, all right, nah, fuck all that pussy shit you was on over there with your mama. You know, it's time for you to be a man, you know, so cut out all that crying, whiny face shit. You know, this ain't that over here, you know. And from that day forward, I started paying attention and watching his moves more and more. Like I tell all my homeboys, you know, I didn't think my dad was cool growing up. They all did, you know, because they didn't have fathers.
Wow.
They all had their moms.
Right.
And whenever I really needed that, you know, that shoulder to lean on, or, you know what I'm saying, that pat on the back or whatnot, you know, my mom was trying to figure out, you know, how to get better, you know, in her life so she could be there for us without needing my father so much, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because she was like a house mom, didn't really have to do nothing, you know. Then once he decided that he, you know, had other things to do, you know, she had to come up with a game plan, but she was stuck at that time. So it was just a weird transition in my life. But my pops, he was a 100 nigga. Like, the whole hood loved him. He mentored, raised all the guys in my neighborhood that didn't have fathers. You know, he ain't never played with me like I respect my father with the utmost. I was just with my brother the other day talking to my father about some things that's going on in my life, and I'm just allowed to be able to be myself with my pops, because you know I ain't no fake lying nigga. Like, he actually went through the steps and the stages with me from my boy to a man transition, all my bloopers and follies and all my spills every time I bump my head. You know, he never once like ran to my rescue, helped me clean my wounds up, none of that shit. It was always, you know what I expect of you, so shit, you know, if it's self-inflicted, then you gotta deal with it and roll with the punches, baby. You know, that's the type of pops I had.
Dope. Now, you have a daughter and a son? Are you a different parent to both? I only got sons, so I'm only like...
It's one speed.
It's one speed.
Nah, it's all type of dimensions to me, because I have stepchildren. You know what I'm saying? I got a stepdaughter, I got stepsons. I have my own daughter, you know, and I got my baby boy. And I try to be fair to all of them. You know, I try not to treat one better than the next or show favoritism, but it's something about my baby boy out of all the kids in the house. Like, he got a piece of all of us in him. So he's just, you know, he's all us in one enchilada, but he's himself at the same time. And that's what make him so special. It's his touch on the pieces of us that he got. And he's so different and unique to me, man. Like, the things he says and does, like, that's how I know, like, that genetics and that bloodline,
you ain't never
traits and all that. Like, I know that shit true, because it's like he my father all over again in this little man's body, you know. And he just try to be so big and so tough, and you know, it just remind me of my dad when I look at him.
Now, is he named after you?
He's named after me and my father. I'm the third.
Okay.
You know, my son is the fourth.
So like that was my big realization when it came to having a son. I have we call him mini-me. Like, that's my little clone. And unfortunately, all of the things that I hate about myself are amplified in this little child. And now I have to change that for his sake. Do you see anything in your son that made you kind of check anything that you have going on?
All type of shit. His fascination with guns. He loved music too much. I give him freedom of speech, but I teach him how to gauge it as far as respect towards adults.
That's a great point, bro.
You know,
yes.
Because he gonna go out there and do it anyway, so, cause I did it, you know, when I turned the corner, I was a whole different person than I was when he can actually lay his eyes on me, you know.
Word.
So I got a nephew named Jalen, and he records things when my son is with him, and my son don't always know that the phone is recording, because he's so used to people pointing the phone and looking in their phones all the time that he might not know all the time when it's being, you know, it's happened to me. You know what I'm saying? So I know he don't know, you know, so I'm riding the other day with my sister, and she plays me something. And to hear my son talk the way he was talking, I couldn't even believe it was my child. But when I think about how my son is, it's like, well, that doesn't surprise me. You know?
Right.
He's a smart kid, you know. I'm not real big into whipping my kids, you know.
I am not either.
They get more so punished and penalized by getting things taken away that we know they praise. Like,
Yeah.
take that video game from them, or
take that phone away.
That phone, or not give them certain privileges they would usually have on the weekends, or you know, shit like that. Like, cause we spoil our kids to death. Like,
oh yeah.
Like my daughter, my stepdaughter, she was with me the other day, and they got this little Wendy's kick where they don't want nothing from the store. You know, it used to be gas station trips. Like, you didn't go in the gas station, spend $20 every time you go in the gas station.
Right.
Now they got this Wendy's kick where it's just a 4 for $4. Like,
right.
You know, we get a pop, we get a burger, a fry, you know, and a nugget. You know, it's like, fuck, I buy everybody 4 for $4. You know? But our 4 for $4 be like $30
right.
every time we pulling out the
cause y'all deep
Wendy's, you feel me? And they just think that's normal to just go spend $30 here, then look at you later and I'm hungry again. Nah, what you want? I don't want fast food this time. I want a real meal. Nah, it's a $30 steak dinner or some shit, you know?
Oh yeah.
This is been every day since, you know, I've been a father, you feel me? So even days I come short on myself, like I just know what sacrifice is. Like, that's an argument I always have with people. Like, what have you ever sacrificed in your life to understand my mentality and my motive for the things that I do and why I do them for, you know what I mean?
Right.
The reasons.
So how do you balance, and this is something that I'm struggling with right now, how do you balance giving the kids the things that they want versus instilling that hunger and that appreciation that you have for acquiring the things? Because when you acquire it, you respect it more, you appreciate it more. But when it's given to you, it doesn't really mean anything.
Because I can lead by example when it comes to that. Because my kids have seen me literally with nothing at times. But somehow, some way, whenever they need me, I always pull a rabbit out the hat out of thin air. See, and they know don't nothing come out of thin air now that they getting older and they actually paying attention more, because I can't hide everything. I've tried from day one, you know. I'm not as open to everything I'm doing, but I'm honest about everything I'm doing, you know.
Right.
And it's to the point now where they've seen me pull this rabbit out the hat so many times that they think that it's easy, or it just come with the territory, you know, of me just being who I am.
Right.
And I'm like, nah, it took, you know, a lot of, you know, me waking up every day trying to correct certain things that I noticed was wrong yesterday, you know.
Right.
And, you know, every day I wake up, like I told you, I'm trying to better myself for my children, so I could show them by example. Like, you know, they see me pull up in my Benz, like, that's like, it's like nothing is impossible, because you seen me, you know, sharing a car with mommy, or you seen me, you know, walking back and forth, or catching cabs, or, you know, paying anybody I had to take me wherever I had to go, you know, catching buses, trains, to, you know, not fly all the time, or, you know, we got a couple Benzes in the driveway, or, you know,
they saw the come up, the process.
Just period, just seeing that I never gave up. I'm always waking up trying to do anything other than sit on my ass and complain and wait on another motherfucker to do it. They see that in me.
Right.
Feel me? So, of course, it's certain things that they just lean on me for, because I'm Pops, you know. But then it's other things that they be like, you know what, I'm not going to stress Pops. Let me figure out how I can come at them from an angle to get it out of them. See, that's different. See, now you talking my language, because this how I want you to be thinking in the first place. So come at me with your prop, Joe. you know?
Right.
And maybe we can come up with some type of plan to work, you know, to help me help us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because right now, you know, I'm who they looking to for guidance. I'm who they look to for strength. You feel me? Shit that they just don't know the answers to. You feel me? I'm the solution, you know? And I gotta help them iron out the kinks no matter what they go through in life, you know? And some of my kids are stronger than the other ones. Some of them, you know, they might need me a little longer. Some of them might have to stick around the house a little longer. Some of them, you know, but I'm always gonna be there however they need me, you know? I've sacrificed my own, you know, happiness at times, or, you know, my own sanity, all that, just to make sure that they got their head screwed on straight and they know somebody in their corner. You know what I mean? So that's just my role I'm always playing in their life.
I want to talk about how you prepared yourself for the time that you were going to be away from your family. And how did you prepare your family for the time that you were going to be away as well?
It happened weird because I didn't think he was going to lock me up that day. Like I just had a court date. And then go to the court date, you know, I'm telling the lawyer, you know, put this pitch up, see if I can, you know, let you know I got a company, let you know, I'm doing positive shit for the community. I do the food drives, the backpack giveaways, you know, free shows. You know, I've always been the guy in the neighborhood to try to steer the kids in the right direction, no matter what the fuck I'm into anyway.
Right.
You know, it's do as I say, not as I do. You know, I'm grown, and you know, if you a youngin' or you one of my kids, or I'm responsible for being, you know, your elder, or we related in some shape, form, or fashion. Like I'm always, you know, for the better and the greater good of the neighborhood. You feel me? So, you know, the judge, he wasn't on that shit that day. He was on some, nah, you know, I can't keep letting you slide like this. You probably wouldn't even came to court if we wouldn't have caught up with you. You know, how about we chalk the bond? You put a couple dollars with it since you want to try to throw your money around. Give me half my time and all my money. And that's what I went through. Racist County, you know, They don't really bar nothing nowhere, you know, race to 5'9". A lot of motherfuckers been locked up in the same jail just cause the slap on the wrist we'll get away with for in the city. It don't, you know, them county lines and shit, that shit, you know, it's a different ball game, and different counties, different strokes, different folks, especially, you know, with them judges and you know how they look at shit. They look at shit like, you know, you playing with guns, or you busting your gun, or fucking with drugs and shit. You know, you could be over there fighting a war, or you could have been a fucking doctor or something. You know, because you could have took the necessary steps to really do this shit textbook and got the same pay without going through all this hassle and trouble. But he don't understand, we really not offered the same opportunities. You feel me? It looks as though it's that way, but in reality, when I walk out my door and I see, you know, my motivation ain't the same motivation as when they kids walk out their front doors. You know? So now, you know, me and my wife, we aim to show our kids a life to where they entitled equal opportunity to have those shots and, you know, be able to compete with, you know what I'm saying, people in those fields for those type of jobs. You know? We stay in the suburbs now. You know, it's certain shit that they notice just because I grew up in the ghetto, so that's where all my company and, you know, that's where my real love is at. Like I took my son to the projects for the first time. Like, he didn't roll through projects, probably didn't know that's where we was, or you know, but this is the first time ever chilling in the projects, and he really just been fascinated with something that, you know, a nigga never really wanted for him, you know. But that's what I'm going through now. I'm trying to get my oldest boy to see everything that glitter ain't froze, you know. And sometimes, you know, the grass really is greener. You feel
Right.
me?
Now, your oldest, is he from, he's not from the hood whatsoever?
No, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say this. He definitely from that way.
Okay.
You feel me? He's 7 mile raised, you know, since a youngin', you know. He just stayed in the suburbs and he's had to move around a lot, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you know, his mom and, you know, her parents, and, you know, they do a good job of, like, keeping him out the way.
Right.
You know?
Thank God.
So, I've been in his life his whole life. But I guess at the time I probably became his pops. It was probably when he was about 6. So it's like he's 19 now, you know. So I'm really the only pops he ever really had, like, consistently in his life to this day, you know. And I'm just trying to crack the code on him because he think certain shit is cute right now. And I went through that with my pops, you know what I mean? Like, I'm enticed by all this shit. I see all this shit, so I'm trying to figure out what's the quickest way I can get to this shit without hassling my mom, without hassling my pops, you know, doing it on my own so I can feel like I'm, you know, I'm out here, you know, an earner. Or,
Right.
You know, I actually achieve something, you know what I mean? So he going through that right now. So, you know, I done tested the waters with him a couple times to see if that's really what he want out of life, you know? Cause this ain't even something I wanted for myself, you know? So,
man,
he never really dropped the ball, but I could see, like, that's really not where his attention is, you know? He's really like a hard working, you know, school going, cause he a brainiac, you know what I mean? And I be telling him, you know, you gonna have to shape up and ship out a little better than we all turned out because you got 3 little boys looking up to you every day.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Word. Now, so for me, like I said, I grew up in West Philly. I grew up in many a hood. I think maybe I was 10th grade when my family moved me to the burbs. And I was like happy as shit to get out of the hood. I never wanted to go back to the hood whatsoever. But what I noticed was in the burbs that all of the burb kids wanted to be hood. So it almost was like getting out there, I had to readjust my mind. I'm thinking like, you fools got lawns to mow and all types of stuff. Like, why are y'all trying to be gangsters? So, but what I remember was they didn't know what the real hood meant.
Right.
And because I knew it, I knew what they had, and I appreciated that far more. So now, in trying to create that balance for my kids live in the burbs, and they ain't never been hood at all.
Right.
But every summer I take them to the projects, and we play ball in the projects. Or when I'm back in Philly, we go to the corner store, and they're just. But at this time now, because it's been natural reoccurring in their life, they're familiar with that energy, so it ain't gonna be a shock to them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you consciously, you know, keeping that balance? Like you said, you got the company that comes over to the burbs, but
that's what I'm telling you about my baby boy. Like, cause you know I ain't perfect, so I go through things. You know what I mean? It might be times where me and my son, you know, we might be somewhere where I know he ain't supposed to be. You feel me? But
And how old is he now?
he's 5.
Okay.
But I try to do a good job at disguising the situation we're in. I try to make the best of it always. Like, he always got all the toys he want, and he playing the video games, or, you know, one of my homeboys, you know, sitting there really giving him like the attention he craving, you know, or, you know, it might just be me and him riding around like all day in the car, and he's one kid who can do shit like that because he been riding around with me in that car all his life, you feel me? And it's like getting normal to him to see certain things that I'm kind of mad at myself that's normal to him, you know? Like, like I got an AR with a 90 on it, right? And it fascinates him to see this big ass with this big ass drum on it with all these in it, you know? And one day he asked me, say, Dad, can I shoot that when I get older? You gonna let me have that? I said, yeah, son, you know, you can have all the shit when you get older. And I remember when I was that age, my father was putting me, you know, between his arms and showing me how to dry fire and shit, you know. So I thought about that. So, you know, his first he ever held and pulled the was an AR with a 90 on it. He always gonna remember that. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like my pops and them, they was on some big ass 357s and 4.4s, and you know, they had the revolvers. Even though they had semis and shit too. Now don't get it twisted, but my pops, he used to love them revolvers, you know. But now, you know, I used to watch my pops, you know, spin the barrel, the chambers, you know what I'm saying? Slap it back in, click, you know, make sure the bitch ready to go. Put it on this hip. We in the wind. My pop strapped every day with me. You know, he was an officer. So, so my whole life I've been growing up trying to outthink the police. Cause you know, this my pops. So I can't get caught doing half the shit I'm really into because I'm into some shit.
My mom's father is a police officer in Philly for 20 years. So, and I lived at his house when I was growing up for a good part of my life. So he had he had, you know, his, you know, standard issue, whatever.
I know about all that.
And then my pop was a G, and he had that it was completely different. But I've always been around them my whole life. Never been.
It was like, so many in my house, I couldn't have company. Like, you couldn't come over my house and play hide, go seek, or none of that shit. Like, like you better go to their house and go do that shit. Like, you know better than to bring them niggas in my house. You know, jeez. Like I had one of them fathers. Like, and my uncle, he was a gangster. Like, R.I.P. my Uncle Gary. Like, he used to be in all type of shit, you know. But as well as my Uncle Gerard, and you know, he on the straight and narrow now, but even he'd tell you, like, I always been the same guy since a kid. Like, I knew, you know, what to do, what I was getting myself into, what not to do, you know. Always been, like, you know, real smart in school and shit, you feel me? Like, that shit just came easy, so school was boring by the time I got to high school, so I dropped out 9th grade, you know, but...
Now, are you concerned at all when you see a kid fascinated? Is that a concern to you? Because you went through it.
But all us that's really from it, I never knew no kid that really wanted to put himself through it unnecessarily. I don't know people like that. Like, like all my niggas, you know, that's still here because, you know, 75, 80% of my roster is deceased or incarcerated. So the ones that is left, they was never no fake wannabe type niggas, you know. But a lot of the young boys, they fascinated by that lifestyle when that's the shit that be done stole everything from you that you will ever love. You know, it'll take everything from you that, you know what I'm saying, you always wanted to be around. Like right now, I'm going through all this rap fame shit, you know. And my people back at the crib that's left, they proud of me, but they gotta, you know, show me the appreciation from afar. Like, I get calls from niggas doing life and shit like, yo, I read the article, my nigga. Like, you know, seeing you make it, like, it feel like I made it, my nigga. Like, you know, like, I feel like I got made today. Like, one of ours just got made, bro. So, you know, we in here celebrating, you know, to your success. And I'm just thinking, like, man, little do you know, bro, like, I got a record deal. I got sued for my advance, and I'm still selling drugs to feed my kids, like, with a record deal. Like, you don't know how that feels.
Right.
You know, but I can't tell him that because he in a fucked up predicament, you feel me? And me, you know, I woke up today free, so I can't complain, you feel me? All my kids in one piece. They all was born, you know, all they fingers, toes, you know, sound man, you feel me? Thank God, you know what I mean? So, you know, that's what I be going through, shit like that. Like the kids that do feel influenced by that fast life shit, you know, is probably because one or two things. Either they really grew up so, you know, swamped and knee deep into the shit to where that's the only thing they ever looked at to pay attention to see a way out. And then you got the other ones that's just fascinated, you know, or they lazy, or, you know, didn't want to take the route that really was for them. So they end up chasing the wrong dream, and then you look up and they done trick themselves off the streets by, you know, not being themselves.
That's crazy. All right, last thing. Advice for new fathers out there, people who might get, you know, the news or that they're about to be a father. What do you have for them? Maybe something that you thought, you know, was going to be a big deal, but really wasn't, or just advice, period.
Just don't never try to live, you know, through your kids, you know, let them make their own decisions, you know, let them think for themselves up until the point where you gotta step in and be a parent, you know, but just give them the freedoms they need to grow up and be normal people out here, because that's what usually rob the kids of them growing up to be normal people, is the weirdo shit that happens to them along the way. You know? So just keep your kids as normal as you can keep them, whatever that takes, you know. Not as much TV, not those weird ass shows, letting the radio and the, you know, the cartoons and the television shows raise your children. Like, you gotta actually raise your kids, you know. And just, you know, try to make all the corrections from the mistakes that you made along the way and your parents made while raising you, so forth and so on, and everything gonna be alright because you got it in you, you know?
Perfect. That's all I need, man. Appreciate it.